Hey man, let's break down something most men never fully understand. Availability isn't what attracts her, scarcity is. Not because women are playing games, and not because they enjoy the chase in a shallow way, but because deep down, the female mind craves what feels earned, what feels rare, what feels chosen. See, when you're always available, always texting first, always making plans, always dropping everything for her, you might think you're showing love, consistency, and effort. But what you're actually doing is suffocating her curiosity. You're giving her everything before she's even asked. And the problem with giving too soon, too often, too easily, is that it leaves nothing for her to imagine, nothing for her to work for, and nothing for her to value. She starts craving the man who holds back, not out of cruelty, but out of discipline. There's a subtle shift that happens when a woman doesn't have to earn your presence. She begins to assume it, and once she assumes it, she stops appreciating it. The man who is always there, always replying instantly, always planning the next date, becomes predictable, safe, convenient. And while those things might sound like qualities a woman should love, the truth is, safety without mystery kills desire. It turns what once felt exciting into a routine. You become background noise, and no woman fantasizes about background noise. But the man who takes his time, who disappears to build his life, focus on his mission, protect his peace, he becomes a thought she can't shake, not because he's toxic, but because he's sovereign. When you're not always available, you force her to reflect. You make her sit with her emotions. You give her space to wonder, to miss, to desire. That wondering turns into thoughts. Those thoughts build emotional tension, and emotional tension is the oxygen of female attraction. It's what keeps her checking her phone, replaying old conversations, planning ways to reconnect. But when you're too available, you remove all of that tension. There's no spark, no unknown, no pull. You become her emotional comfort, food familiar, easy, but forgettable. She craves the man who doesn't offer himself on demand. The man whose energy is felt more when it's missing than when it's constantly shown. Here's what most guys don't realize. Being less available doesn't mean being indifferent. It doesn't mean ignoring her texts or playing games. It means you prioritize yourself first. You keep your schedule. You stay focused on your work, your health, your growth. You don't rearrange your life to be at her feet. When she calls, you don't always answer on the first ring. When she makes a move, you take your time to respond. Not to punish her, but to protect your emotional value. The less available you are, the more intentional your presence becomes. And when she sees that you don't just give your time to anyone, she starts to treasure every second you do give to her. Scarcity breeds value. It's a psychological law. Diamonds are rare, that's why they're expensive. Gold is scarce, that's why it's prized. And you become emotionally expensive when you're not always there. When your presence is measured, selective, and deliberate. You stop being an emotional vending machine and start becoming a prize. And when you become a prize, she starts to pursue. She leans in, she invests. Not because you asked her to, but because she feels pulled into your orbit. That pull, that magnetism, it's built in the space you create when you don't show up every time she snaps her fingers. A man who isn't always available is a man who values his energy. And that kind of man is deeply attractive because he sends a message, I'm not here to entertain, I'm here to evolve. When you protect your time, you force her to enter your world rather than dragging yourself into hers. You become the center, the frame, the rhythm. And when you're the frame, she starts adjusting herself to fit inside it. That's not control, it's leadership. It's the emotional gravity that only exists when a man is grounded enough to say, I like you, but I don't need you. Let's talk biology for a second. Women are wired to pursue what feels just out of reach. Not far away, not cold, but slightly unavailable. That sweet spot between closeness and distance, that's where tension lives. It activates her feminine energy, makes her curious, gets her emotionally invested. When she doesn't know where she stands with you, she leans forward. But when she always knows you'll be there, always knows your reply, always knows your chase, she leans back. Not because she's bored, but because she doesn't feel the need to earn anything anymore. You become irresistible when your life moves without her. When she sees that your world doesn't stop spinning just because she's busy, distracted, or testing you. You keep building. you keep growing, you keep living. And every time she peeks back into your world, she sees a man who's becoming more, not less. That growth, that detachment, that quiet confidence that says, I'm good with or without you, that's what creates obsession, because it tells her that your love is not a prison, it's a privilege. And privilege is something people work for. Let's be real, bro. If she doesn't fear losing you, she can't value you. And if you're always available, she never gets to feel that fear. She never has to ask, am I doing enough? But when you pull back, when you skip a few good mornings, when you don't show up in her DMs for a couple of days, when you make her wait before seeing you again, that little absence wakes her up. She starts thinking, starts feeling, starts working, and it's in that effort that real attraction is built. Not in the constant presence, but in the spaces where she has to reach for you. There's something deeply masculine about being unbothered, about not needing to explain your every move, not rushing to text back, not always needing to be seen. That calm distance creates polarity. It makes her emotional. It forces her to guess, and guessing creates obsession, because now she's not in control of the dynamic. You are. You're not rude, you're not cruel, you're just centered. And that centered energy, that's what makes her spiral inward and ask, why am I thinking about this man so much? That question alone means you're already living in her mind. When a man isn't always available, he's not rejecting her, he's reframing himself. He's not an option on tap, he's an experience she has to qualify for. And that subtle reframe changes everything. She stops viewing your attention as something she can count on in moments of boredom or convenience. Instead, she begins to treat it as something earned. She slows down when she texts you. She puts more thought into her replies. She starts thinking about how she shows up in your life, not because you demanded it, but because she can feel that you're not going to give your time away without reason. That's what makes her elevate her behavior. Your emotional discipline becomes her subconscious cue to level up. Availability, when overdone, becomes desperation. But when a man is intentional about his availability, when he balances presence with mystery, he becomes magnetic. That magnetism isn't just about seduction, it's about being unmatched. She knows you're not waiting by the phone. She knows you're out building, growing, leading your life. That knowing creates respect, and respect is the soil where real desire grows. Because women don't chase men who are emotionally needy, they chase men who are emotionally absent until earned, men who love selectively, who engage slowly, who don't feel the need to always be seen to know they matter. And here's the truth, bro. If you're always trying to prove your worth through availability, you're setting yourself up for emotional burnout. You become reactive. You're always checking in, always wondering where you stand, always giving without getting. But when you slow down, when you stop trying to fill every silence with reassurance, when you start living instead of waiting, you free yourself. You return to your masculine core, and that core is what draws her in. It's not your constant attention, it's your direction, your certainty, your silence. That's what sticks in her mind. That's what she talks about when you're not around. A woman's desire is awakened by uncertainty, not chaos, but tension. And that tension lives in the space you don't fill. The gap between when you could text her and when you choose not to. The delay between her question and your calm response. The weekend where she wonders if you'll invite her out and doesn't hear from you until Sunday night. That's not game playing, that's energy pacing. You're creating a rhythm where she's emotionally engaged, where she's not in control of your attention and has to earn your presence through effort, consistency, and feminine softness. She craves the man who isn't always available because that man has a life. He has goals, he has friends, he has purpose, he has discipline. And because of that, his attention becomes meaningful. She knows if he texts, it's not because he's bored, it's because she's on his mind. She knows if he asks her out, it's not out of habit, it's intentional. Every interaction feels sacred because it's limited, and anything limited becomes valuable. You want to be valuable? Stop giving your energy out like it's free. When you become too available, you also make her job too easy, and when the emotional journey is too easy, it becomes forgettable. There's no dopamine, no high, no spike. But when she has to wait, when she has to wonder, when she has to earn your next text, your next meeting, your next compliment, every moment becomes a reward. That's how addiction forms. Through delayed gratification, through earned validation. Not by flooding her with energy, but by controlling the flow. That control makes her want to be around you more, not less. Because now you're not feeding her emotions, you're awakening them. And don't forget, if you don't create emotional space, she will. If you're always calling, texting, inviting, and pursuing, eventually she'll pull back. She'll create space just to breathe. And once she does, you've already lost the frame. But when you're the one who manages the pacing, who takes a few hours to respond, who disappears for a weekend, who doesn't rush to fill the silence, you control the rhythm. And the man who controls the rhythm is the man she dances around emotionally. She doesn't want you always. She wants to miss you. She wants to feel that little ache when you're not around. That curiosity, that anticipation, that's what lights up her nervous system. That's what pulls her in closer. And when she gets you, when she finally hears from you or sees you again, she feels it. She doesn't just see you, she feels your presence, because it's not diluted by overexposure. It's rich, it's full, it's masculine. And that masculine energy, given in doses, not dumped all at once, is what triggers her loyalty. So if you've been wondering why she seemed so into you at first, and then slowly started to fade, ask yourself, were you too available? Did you give too much too soon? Did she have to work for your attention? Or was it handed to her like a participation trophy? If you did, it's not too late. Just pull back, calmly, no coldness, no games, just recenter yourself. Start living more, engaging less. Let her feel your absence. And if she's truly interested, she'll start showing up. You won't have to chase her back. You'll have created the space for her to choose you again. Because in the end, man, she doesn't crave the man who's always there. She craves the man who has somewhere else to be. She craves the man who makes her feel something real, not through volume, but through value. She craves the man who isn't trying to win her with words, but who wins her with emotional gravity. And that kind of man, he doesn't need to force attraction. He creates it simply by being less available and more magnetic.